Hey!
His love keeps on singing like a soft and sweet refrain. It's a love that never fails. A love that never fails.
How you guys doing?
From the heavens to the earth, his promises remain. It's a love that never fails.
You're welcome.
Change.
Well,
what?
Michael is prepared. He just started reading last week.
So you got pizza tonight?
Yep, it's gonna be me. I don't know what yet, but I'm gonna have to find something.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah. Where are you going?
Glasses and I can see it.
What? I know that way, bro. What's that
I've walked through the valley, shadows covering my soul. But I've got a shepherd beside me, and he's making my spirit whole. He says, come to me, all you burden, lay your troubles at my feet. For my yoke is easy, my love's unending, and in me you'll find relief. Through the valley,
Oh, it's a new guy right here. Hey, I'm Jim. What's your name?
he's alive, is all I see. He's my comfort, he's my rest. In his arms I'm truly blessed. Through the valley,
This is Riley, my neighbor. This is Jazz. Some blues, huh? Yeah. See the piano over there? That's Robin. Say hi to Jim. You can just go around and say hi to everybody if you want to.
he walks with me.
Hello, hello.
How do you? My name's William. Call me Bill.
Even when the
No, you were supposed to do it. Yes, but I just didn't get it right. I didn't get it right. But I don't expect you to know.
Think your taxes are simple? You can file for free with H&R Block. More people qualify for H&R Block free online than TurboTax free edition. Find eligibility requirements at hrblock.com/free. Approximately 55% of filers qualify.
Hey, how you doing?
Hello, Bella.
Good.
Hello, Bella.
Hello, baby. I had one extra, 1 for 40, 1 extra.
Won't be perfect.
Yeah, you just gotta win. Whoa. Yeah. Oh, yeah,
What is that? Is that what you got in?
yeah.
I don't know where she's gonna put it, but out of it, Molly's. Wow.
What are you doing?
What's your name? Rylan? You go 13 word?
I just went and cut it.
Oh. Chase,
He's got one bracket.
You told him.
So I had to re-weld it. Put the metal back together, re-weld it.
I'm leaving.
he reviewed. That's the way to do her. That's pretty good.
It took like 2 hours worth of like welding and re-polishing it and everything. Like I was like, what a time to watch that break. It's like I have a cool shop set up. It's like, you know, cutting around over here, the welders all the way over there by the weld house.
That'll work.
Picked him up along the side of the road.
Yeah, I did. Oh, he enjoyed it. He enjoyed it. I enjoyed the, being along for a while. I know, he hasn't shut up about it. Is it Tom
Dave.
Davis?
Dave back here.
Oh, Dave.
Tom was his brother. At the funeral home? Didn't he run the funeral home?
Yeah.
That's his brother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so that makes Big Al his uncle.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Dave's sister. His Al's mom.
Okay.
He's got like, well, no, another brother, Jimmy. He's got one more brother, and I think another sister, I think. And a big family.
Yeah.
Jimmy used to be a state patrolman. Yeah. Mr. Dave, he's a character.
Did you ever, you know what Sherry bought the other day, the $90, whatever it was? Yeah, but what that was, she paid out of her pocket. Yeah, that wasn't on card. She didn't have the
Don't let him starve.
No, that was for when you got the egg, wasn't it? Yeah, that other stuff. Yep.
What a friend.
God with us. As soon as it comes up.
Second song's God, or now you got me singing this. All right.
Would be mindful of us. What do you see? It's worth looking our way. We are free in ways that we never should be. Sweet relief from the grip of these chains. Like hinges straining from the weight, my heart no longer can keep from singing. All that is within me cries for you alone. Be glorified, Emmanuel. God with us. My heart sings a brand new song. The dead is paid, the chains are gone. Emmanuel, God with us. Lord, you know our hearts don't deserve your glory. Still you show a love we cannot afford. Like hinges straining from the weight, my heart no longer can keep from singing. All that is within me cries for you alone. Be glorified, Emmanuel. God with us. My heart sings a brand new song. The dead is paid, these chains are gone. Emmanuel, God with us. For such a tiny offering compared to Calvary, nevertheless we lay it at your feet. Such a tiny offering compared to Calvary, nevertheless we lay it at your feet. All that is within me cries for you alone. Be glorified, Emmanuel. God with us. My heart sings a brand new song. My debt is paid, these chains are gone. Emmanuel, God with
Every day, amen? Now what a friend.
Everybody has trial and temptation. Everybody knows heartbreak, isolation. But we can lay our burdens down. Lay our burdens down. What a friend we have in Jesus. East to west, my sins are gone. I see grace on every horizon, and forever and ever His heart is my home. Everybody has fears, everybody got worry. Everybody knows sorrow, devastation. But we can lay our burdens down. Lay our burdens down. What a friend we have in Jesus. East to west, my sins are gone. I see grace on every horizon, and forever and ever His heart is my home. No more betrayal, for He is faithful. He fills me up and my cup runneth over. No more betrayal, for He is faithful. How He has proven it over and over. No more betrayal, for He is faithful. He fills me up and my cup runneth over. No more betrayal, for He is faithful. Over and over, over and over. What a friend we have in Jesus. East to west, my sins are gone. I see grace on every horizon, and forever and ever His heart is my home. What a friend we have in Jesus. East to west, my sins are gone. Yeah, I see grace on every horizon, and forever and ever His heart is my home. Forever and ever His heart is my home.
Amen.
Amen.
How about that? What a friend, huh?
Amen.
Yeah. Go ahead and change it. You may be seated. Who has Jesus as a friend? Yes. Amen.
Amen.
That's right. Who's ready for Michael?
I am.
Michael is going to give us a short story on David and Goliath.
And you didn't memorize it.
And he did memorize it, that's right. He
Which
did
is why I
not.
have the book.
You'll find out, he's gonna read a story.
Before the story, luckily Tree wrote down notes about David and the history and the events leading up to him defeating Goliath.
We wrote down notes.
I'm thankful for that.
You can read my writing.
Better than mine.
Can you read it?
Yes. David had reddish hair and fair skin, beautiful eyes, and was fine looking. David had 7 older brothers. His father was Jesse, was the grandson of Borak and Ruth. He was a farmer and a shepherd breeder. David was a young shepherd who took care of his father's sheep. They were from Bethlehem. David was no more than 16 years old when he faced Goliath. There was a war going on between the Israelites and the Philistines. Goliath was a Philistine warrior. He was a giant. His height was 9 feet and 9 inches. He had 6 fingers on each hand and 6 toes on each foot. Goliath was a champion warrior. Goliath challenged the Israelites. David, 3 oldest brothers, had followed Saul to war. For 40 days, the Philistine came forward every morning and every evening and took his stand. David fought lions and bears before he fought his first battle with Goliath. He fought them and developed his faith in God alone on his own. With this faith, he knew he could fight Goliath and win. David's faithfulness to God is highlighted where God says, "I have found David, the son of Jesse, a man after my own heart, who will fulfill all my will." 1 Samuel 13:14. The battle was in Valley of Elhel. Is that how you say it?
I don't know.
Close enough. The Philistine occupied one hill, the Israelites on the other. That's the notes we have on it so far. Now the book. The Philistines gathered together the armies to battle, and King Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and edged by the valley of Ehel, and set the battle in array against the Philistines. The Philistines stood on a mountain on one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side, and there was a valley between them. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 9.5 feet. Goliath was well over 9.5 feet. He had a helmet of brass upon his head, and was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 130 pounds, and he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. The staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron. You don't ask me how much that is, because I have no idea. And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them, Why are ye come out to set your battle in array? Am I not a Philistine? Are ye servants to Saul? I choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. If he be able to fight with me, and to kill me, then we will be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall ye be our servants and serve us. And the Philistine said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. When Saul and all Israel heard those words of the Philistine, they were disarrayed and greatly afraid. The Philistine drew near morning and evening, and said to himself 40 days. David beat his father's sheep at Bethlehem. David's 3 older brothers served in Saul's army. The father said unto his son David, Take now for thy brethren an ephah of parched corn and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp to thy brethren, and carry these 10 cheese unto the captain of the 1,000. And look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge. And David rose up early in the morning, and came to the trench, and came and saluted his brethren. As he talked with them, behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spake according to those same words, and David heard them, and all the men of Israel, and they saw the man, fled from him, and were sworn afraid. And the men of Israel said, Have ye seen this man that is come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up. And it shall be that the man who killed him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel. And David spake to the man that stood by him, saying, What shall be done to the man that killed this Philistine, and taketh away the reproach from Israel? For who is this circumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God? And the people answered him after this manner, saying, So shall it be done to the man that killed him. And Eliab, his older brother, heard when he spoke unto the man. And Eliab's anger was kindled against David, and he said, Why comest thou down hither? And with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know thy pride, and thou naughtiness of thy heart, for thou art come down, that thou mightest see the battle. And David said, What have I done now? Is there not a cause? And he turned from him toward another, and spoke after the same manner. And when the words were heard from which Daniel spoke, they arose them before King Saul, and he sent for him. And David said to Saul, Let no man's heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight this Philistine. Saul said to David, Thou art not able to go against this Philistine, fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. David said unto Saul, Thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock, and went after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he rose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. Thy servant slew both the lion and the bear, and under this circumcised Philistine shall be as one of them, seeing that hath defied the armies of the living God. David said, Moreover, the Lord that delivered me out of the palm of the lion, out of the palm of the bear, he will deliver me out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, Go, and the Lord be with thy. And Saul armored David with his armor, and put an helmet of brass upon his head. Also he armed him with a coat of mail, and David girded his sword upon his armor, and he alas said to go, for he had not proven it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proven them. And David put them off him. And he took his staff in hand, and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag which he had, even in a scribe. His sling was in his hand, and he drew near the Philistine. And the Philistine came out of the drew near unto David. When the Philistine looked about and saw David, he restrained himself, for he was about a youth, a ruddy and fair and of a fair I think so. Continents. And of a fair countenance. And the Philistines said unto David, Am I a dog that thou comest me with staffs? The Philistine cursed David by his gods. And the Philistine said unto David, Come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and the beasts of the field. Then said David to the Philistine, Thou comest to me with sword and spear, and with a shield, but I come at thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defied. This day the Lord will deliver thou unto my hand, and I will smite thee, and take thy head from thee. And I will give thy carcass of the host of the Philistines this day unto the blows of the air and the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And all this assembly shall know that the Lord save not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you unto our hands. And David put his hand in his bag, and took out thence a stone, and slang it, and he smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stone sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. And when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Israel and of Judah rose and shouted, and pursued the Philistines until thou come to the valley, and to the gates of Iraq. And the children of Israel returned from chasing after the Philistines. David took the head of Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. The end. you excuse me, I'm gonna get some water.
Going to get some agua. Yeah, see, he told me that they didn't start till just last week on that. But that's okay, you know what? He still came prepared.
Amen.
When he got put on the spot. But he was able to do it. He was able to do it. All right. Let's start out, Gene, in verse 20 in this chapter.
Verse 20?
Yeah. I've got all the verses up there, so we'll start with verse 20.
Okay, there you go.
So David rose early in the morning. Okay, for starters, God doesn't want lazy people working for him. You see, he rose early in the morning. We don't do God's work on our time. It is God's time. So here he is, rose up early in the morning and left the sheep with the keeper. So he already had planned what he was going to do. There was somebody that he was able to trust with the sheep. And took the things and went as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the camp as the army was going out to fight and shouting for battle. All right, 21. For Israel and the Philistines had drawn up in a battle array, army against army. So here they are. They're going to get ready for battle. So let's jump down to 23. Then as he talked with them, there was this champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, coming up from the armies of the Philistines, and he spoke according to the same words. So David heard them. So here's a man that is huge. 9 foot tall. You know, I mean, the weight, some of the gear that he was wearing, you know, one of them was like 125 pounds. You know, that was the shekels. You know, that's what that was. And then there was 600 pounds, which was, or 600 shekels, which was 15 pounds. You know, so that gives you a little bit of what Michael was telling you about what he was carrying around. But verse 24. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, they fled and they were dreadfully afraid. Okay, when we go through trials, is that what we're supposed to do? See, that's what they did. Even King Saul fled. He left because he was a chicken Mary. He wasn't going to fight because he knew that he could not win this battle against Goliath. You know, as we find out here in a little bit, we're going to find out what it was that David was standing on. So here he is coming in. As they said, they all ran. So have you seen this man coming up? Surely he has come up to defy Israel. All right. Let's do verse 25. Put that up there. So the men of Israel said, have you seen this man who has come up? I mean, I don't know how you couldn't miss this guy if he's 9 foot tall. You know, I'm sure he towered over everything. And you know, you got to remember too, King Saul was a tall feller as well. You know, he stood tall over his people. So, you know, here's this guy, Chicken Mary. As I said, you know, just because you're big, that doesn't mean that you're going to be the winner, chicken dinner. You know, so his size did not matter at all whatsoever. So surely he has come up to defy Israel, and it shall be that the man who kills him. So here, now he's trying to bribe him. Yeah, if this guy can kill Goliath, since I'm not going to, we can let him marry one of my daughters, and we're going to give him a house. And hey, who wouldn't want this? Tax exempt. Who would not want that, being tax exempt? You know? So,
You raise your hand, you're crazy.
yeah. But you know, but see, this is what people do when they run into trials. They go the other direction. Now, if there's something in it for me, then I will do it.
Greed.
Greed, could be. But see, that's not why God purposes trials in our lives.
Aim.
It is for us to grow and to know who God is and to be focused on God.
Not to make an extra buck.
Well, yeah, could be. Okay, let's go down to verse 29. And David said, here he is, what have I done? What have I done now? Because he was going back and forth. He was taking care of sheep and he was going back to do this, go to fight the war. So he was going back and forth. But his brothers didn't like it. So he's like, okay, what did I do now? What have I done wrong? You ever felt that way? What have I ever done wrong? What's that Chris Christopherson song? What have I done, Lord? Why me, Lord? That's what it is. Why me, Lord? What have I ever done? You're a Christian, that's what you've done. Because Satan doesn't have to fight you if he has you, because we just look at it as normal living, everyday life, We look at things that way. But as a Christian, there's going to be times that we're going to struggle. How long? We have no idea. But God has a designated time for these times to happen in our lives. And we are not to faint whenever we go through these trials. That's easier said than done, though, isn't it? It's like, come on, God, any day now, any day. So here it says, then he turned him toward another, and the same thing, and these people answered him as the first ones did. That's verse 29. Or verse 30 there as well. Now when the words which David spoke, 31. I'll just go here. Now when the words which David spoke were heard, they reported them to Saul, and he sent for him. Gossip. Tattletales. We got to go tell the king. We got somebody that's going to do this for us. Since nobody else was man enough to step up to the plate. So they go tell the king, hey, we got to volunteer.
They save.
Huh?
They save.
Yeah. But that's what he went to go tell them, hey, we have got somebody that will fight. So in verse 32, we've already read that. No, we didn't. Yeah, we did. No, we didn't. Put it back on 32. Then David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail. See, that's what I was just saying. Let no man's heart fail because of him. Because of Goliath. See, they're letting who he is and his size scare everybody. He's letting them scare. They are being intimidated because he is so big and what he was saying. So he says, that's all right. You got a bunch of sissy for an army. I'll go ahead and do it. I will go fight this Philistine. Since nobody is man enough to stand up to him, I will go do it. And King Saul's like, yes. Because he wasn't going to do it. King Saul wasn't going to do anything, even though he was a big man. He still wasn't going to do it. 33, and he said, you're not able to go against this Philistine. You're just a wee lad. And he says, Goliath, he has been a fighter since he was a wee lad. He was probably born the size of David. But he's saying, how are you going to be able to fight him? How are you going to be able to fight this giant of a man?
Shotgun.
Shotgun? So, he gives the excuse of, look what I've done. Go down to verse 36. Your servant has killed both lion and bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them. So see, he's looking at him as an animal. Really? This is all they've got? I've killed a lion and I've killed a bear.
Well, he sure has the hair like one.
Yeah, you know, he's saying, this guy ain't gonna be nothing. See what I've done? And, you know, sometimes we'll say things to try to prove our qualifications, don't we? Try to get into that position or to do something. You know, you can go in and go do something, and then you start doing it, and then you get yourself in trouble because you didn't do it the way that the other person was going to do it. You might have forgotten to do something in there. Well, you know what? There's a reason why things happen. There is a reason why things are in a progression that they are. And see, this is what God is doing with David. He is building him up. So he says, seeing that he has defiled the armies of the living God. See, it wasn't the size that he was worried about. It was what he had said about God. That's what he was upset about. Verse 37. Moreover, David said, the Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear, he will deliver me from the hand of the Philistine. And Saul said to David, he's probably thinking before he says it, man, I should have thought about that. I could have been a hero if I would have said God would have been on my side. But he said, go, and the Lord be with you. Hey, that's easy to tell somebody that when you're not the one that has to do it, isn't it? Yeah, I'm all for you. We'll get everybody rooting for you. Yeah, go for it, man. So he does. You know, and now he's going to try and get him to put in all this armor. And it doesn't work. It's all too heavy for him. He can't do nothing with it. You know, how can you go to a battle when you're already weighed down? You can't do it, can you?
You'll be cut down like a lawnmower with the grass.
Huh?
You'll be cut down like you're a grass, so I guess a lawnmower.
Yeah. You know, how much gear did we have to walk around over in Iraq? What was it, about like 90 pounds or something like that total, if not more?
About like close to 100 like sappy plates and like your combat load is what they call it. Yeah. About 100 pounds.
They give you what you need to protect yourself, but it still wasn't enough. Because your head is not, your face is not covered. You may have a Kevlar on your head, you know. Your body may be covered, but your legs are open, you know. They can still shoot you in your legs. They can still put one right between your eyes.
Not in the forehead.
Huh?
Not there in the forehead.
Well, it depends on if your Kevlar were turned up or not.
Fair point.
You know? But see, we can't go into battle. We cannot go fighting our trials already weighed down. Because if you're going there and you're already bowed down, you have already weighted down from trying to figure out what you're going to do, it's going to be a losing battle for you. You're already defeated, and you started it by doing it yourself. So how are you going to be able to fight a battle when you're already weighed down? You can't do it.
Unless you can make them trip over you.
Yeah, well, you hope somebody's not around. So what's it saying in verse 40? He says that he has his staff, and he takes 5 smooth stones, and he's got him a slingshot. How many like slingshots? Yeah. They're a cool little toy, ain't they?
I haven't broke a window with them.
Huh?
I haven't broken a window with them.
Yeah.
They're dangerous if you want to use them that way.
Yeah.
They're dangerous.
Sure they are. But, you know, see, do you see here? Here all these armies of Saul could not go against this one man. And here's this man with a slingshot and 5 stones. And that's all he has. That's all he has. And so he has this in his hand. So he draws near to this Philistine. So when the Philistine looked about, let's do verse 42. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him. He made fun of him. He ridiculed him. For he was only a youth. Rudy, and good looking. Hey, he was the cat's meow. He didn't, this wasn't going to impress Goliath any. Really? I'll take his good looks away from him. Just give me a shot at him. Because we know what happened with David, because Potiphar's wife was wanting him. So we know how good he, or no, it wasn't, Joseph, excuse me. I had David on my mind. But here he was a good looking man. And the Philistine, Goliath, he was going to make fun of him. Because of really? You sending out this sissy boy? But then he turns around and says in 43, so the Philistine said to David, am I a dog that you come to me with sticks? So he's being kind of sarcastic to him. Really? You think I'm a dog? Is that it? I'm a dog to you? Well, we'll see who's got the biggest bite. Who's got the worst bite. We'll see who's the big dog. So he's like, okay. So the Philistine said to David in verse 44, come to me and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and the beasts of the field. He said, bring it on, cutie pie. We're going to take this up right now, and I'm going to end it right now. David says, okay. 45. You come to me with a sword, with a spear, and with a javelin. See, here's the whole key right here when we go to our battles. Right here. But I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts. When we go fight our battles, when we are going through our trials, do we do it in the name of the Lord of hosts? Do we call on God when we're going through the struggle? Because see, Saul and all them armies, they were trying to do all on their own. They couldn't fight the battle. Because here, right there, that David is saying, I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you defiled. Since these boys back here won't stand up, I'm standing in their place, and I am going to hand your head to you. So this day the Lord will deliver you into my hand. That's verse 46. I will strike you and take your head from you, and this day I will give the carcasses of the camp of the Philistines to the birds of the air and the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. That they will know, because they know that just a little bitty good-looking kid could not do this by himself. But as we'd already read a while ago, I come in you in the name of the Lord of hosts. See, and that's how we are to be fighting our battles.
Amen. With
God and God alone. Because these battles are spiritual. We cannot fight these battles. You can read it in Ephesians. We cannot fight these battles. Exodus 14:14 tells us God's promise is, I will fight your battles. I am the Lord. But you know what we've got to do in order for Him to fight our battles? Is the last part of Exodus 14:14. That we have to keep our peace. So you know what that's saying? God, put your hand on my mouth so I won't get me any deeper than what I already am. Because we try to do things on our own. And seeing this is what Saul was trying to do. That's why he runs scared. Because he wasn't standing on the name of the Lord. And that's our problem when we fight. That's the problem. We fight. We don't let God do it. Because see, he knew where his bread was buttered. And it came from God. He knew that he was not going to be able to defeat Goliath unless it was God and God alone. That's who won that battle. God is the one who, whenever he pulled that slingshot back, God is the one who put that thing right into his forehead and it sunk into it. It was God that did it. Yeah. He may not have had the strength to kill Goliath, from pulling so far. But you know what? I know someone who does have the strength to do it. And that was God himself, wasn't it?
There's another little tidbit to that too. If you read into it, whenever David bent down and picked up the 5 stones and put them in his pouch, if God had David's back, why did he need 5 stones? Because Goliath had 4 brothers.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So there was probably more to the story than just this right here. I find that interesting.
Sure. But see, the thing of it is, though, they killed just him. You can read later on, what did they all do? They all ran. And they went and opened up a can of you-know-what on them as they was running. But here it is, in verse 47, he says, "Then all the assembly shall know that the Lord does not save with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's." See, that's what we've got to understand. The battle is the Lord's. We will never win a battle on our own. And he will give you into our hands. See, he's going to be given over to Israel. He's going to be whooped. David already knows why. Because he has faith. Saul and his army, they didn't have no faith at all whatsoever. None at all. That's why they all ran scared. Because they didn't have nothing to stand on. They knew that they couldn't do it by themselves. But David is like, hey, you know what? God called me into this little deal. I'll show you how the cow eats the cabbage. And he did, didn't he? He did exactly what David was told to do. He was obedient to God. As I said, he was going back and he was taking care of sheep, and he was going and he was going to the battle too, because his brother said, "What are you doing here, You're just wanting to come to see the battle. That's all you're wanting here for. You're just a wee little boy. You can't fight." Yeah, whatever. I'll show you. I'll show you who's going to fight. You're right, and it's not going to be me. So in verse 50, so David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone, and struck the Philistine and killed him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. Isn't that pretty awesome? That this battle was won because of God. David knew that it wasn't going to be him, because what was it that we read back here a while ago in verse 47? Go back to that again. The battle is the Lord's. That's what he knew. The battle belongs to the Lord. But what was it that he had said earlier? I can't even remember where it was that I read a while ago already. Yeah.
45.
Yeah.
45.
45, yeah. See, and that's the whole thing right there. The battle is the Lord's, but guess what? He knew where he was going to be winning the battle. Because it says right there, "I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts." So when he comes in the name of the Lord of hosts, he knows that the battle is already won.
Amen.
because he came in the name of the Lord. Saul and them didn't have that to stand on because they were too scared of their battle. How many times when we get into a trial, we're getting ready to come up to a battle, and we run the other direction, and we look for somebody else to fight it for us? Look, that battle's for you. Battle can be for me. It's not for anybody else. That battle is for you. What you laughing at?
My battle's my rooster.
Huh? Your rooster?
It's a whole thing.
Huh?
It's a whole thing, all three of them.
Oh, you're trying to catch him.
Yeah, no, he tries to avoid getting caught by the rooster.
Oh. But see, these battles are for a purpose. They are for a purpose. The battles belong to God. You know, that's that Phil Wickham song. The battle belongs. It doesn't belong to us. God's just going to get us through it. He didn't say, okay, here you go, you're on your own. See, that's what we try to do. We try to do it on our own. You know, if you want to step in and help somebody and then you mess it all up because you didn't find out what else that you needed to do, be expected to get your hind end chewed out. You know, here these guys, no, we're not going to do so. We're going to save face. We'll find somebody else. Hey, you get to marry one of my daughters and you'll get tax-free and you'll get a house and you'll get all this stuff. Trying to bribe somebody. Huh?
Then you gave his wife and gave her to somebody else later.
Yeah, but does God have to try to bribe us to go through a trial? He shouldn't, should he? Hey God, I'll do this if. Well, how many knows my old saying? If a frog had wings, he wouldn't bust his hind end on the ground every time he jumped. We like that word, if. God, if you do this, I will do this. I will go ahead and go through. You know, it's just like you've ever driven over the road, and I can't remember the mountains that go out west. And there's a road that goes around it that people can go around, so they don't have to go, mainly for truck drivers, you know. But how are you going to learn how to drive up the hill and go down the hill if you don't do it? It's the easier way to go around. It may take a little longer, but I'll get to the other side. Because see, David here, he says, come to me. He wasn't scared. He says, you come to me, and I'll feed you to the birds. See, he didn't run from his battle. He faced it head on. You know, we was watching a little bit, Sherry likes watching the news and I watch it with her. And Elon Musk asked him that somebody had asked him, how do you deal with the things that you're going through? How do you deal with fear? He says, face it. You go forward. You look it right in the eye. You'll overcome.
Bravery is not having fear, but being willing to go through it.
See, that's it. See, David volunteered. He was willing to fight the battle. He was willing to do it. Because one thing we've got to understand, 2 Timothy 1:7 says that God does not give us a spirit of fear. So you don't need to be no chicken Mary if you're a child of God. Because fear comes from Satan. But he gives us love and of a sound mind. That's what we have. Fear is not in the equation for the Christian. That's what God tells us. We do not choose that fear because we choose not to go through the battles when God says, I will fight your battles for you. I mean, what part of that do we not understand? What part do we not understand? I said I will fight for you. Get out of the way. I got this, God. This is going to be pretty easy. Guess what? The more you go and the more you do it yourself, the harder it gets, doesn't it? You may think you have it whooped, but you don't. You think you do, and you think you're going right on down the line with it. Yeah. No. There's nothing good about it. Because you're just making a fool of yourself thinking that you can beat what God has purposed for you. Because He does it for a reason. See, this happened because God wanted to show who He was. And I can use anybody I want to accomplish what I have purpose so that I may be glorified. You don't hear of God using rich people. Most of the people that God ends up, you look at the disciples. Look at all who they were. The rich man says, I don't need God. I've done everything on my own. I don't need nobody. Yeah, it don't work that way. Things of the world are only temporary. And as a child of God, everything is permanent. Everything is eternal. The only thing that's temporary is the seasons of trials that we go through. The world will give you seasons of joy. God just give you a season of trial, however long that will be. But as He said earlier when we first read it, don't faint. Don't faint. Because that's what Satan wants us to do. He wants us to give up. David did not give up. He showed who God was. He didn't show who he was. He showed who God was because he said, I am coming to you in the name of the Lord. And that's what we got to remember. If you would stand. Jesus Christ, if you just think you do, but you're not for sure, raise your hand. If you feel you need to recommit your life to Jesus Christ, you're just not where you want to be with God. You want to be closer to Him than what you were yesterday. Raise your hand. God bless. God bless. Father in heaven,